Don't translate, just listen. Hello, and welcome back to Speak English Anywhere. Today, we're going to continue our Don't Translate, Just Listen series. For this episode, I have 20 new stories and everyday topics for you. You don't need to translate every sentence. You don't need to understand every word. Just listen. Try to understand the meaning. If you hear a word you don't know, don't stop. Keep listening. The next sentence may help you understand it. And if you miss something, that's okay. You can simply continue. Today, we'll talk about work, travel, food, friendship, daily life, personal space, boredom, choices, and many other interesting topics. The English is simple and natural, so you can relax while listening. You can listen while you're walking, cooking, resting, or doing something around the house. And remember, you don't need perfect English to understand a story. You just need to keep listening. So take a deep breath, relax, and let's begin.
Part 1. The first day at a new job. Starting a new job can be exciting, but it can also be a little scary. You don't know the people, you don't know the rules, you don't know exactly what you're supposed to do. I remember my first day at a new job. I woke up earlier than usual. I wasn't late, but I kept checking the time. I wanted to make a good first impression. I chose my clothes carefully. Then I left home and went to the office. When I arrived, I stood outside the building for a moment. I took a deep breath and walked inside. A woman at the front desk smiled and asked me who I was looking for. I told her that it was my first day. She welcomed me and showed me where to go. A few minutes later, my manager came to meet me. He introduced himself and showed me around the office. There were several people working at their desks. Some people were talking, some were drinking coffee, others were busy looking at their computers. Everyone seemed to know exactly what they were doing. I felt a little nervous. Then my manager introduced me to my new coworkers. They were friendly. One person asked me where I was from. Another person asked me if I had worked in a similar job before. We talked for a few minutes. That helped me feel more comfortable. During the morning, I learned about my responsibilities. There were many new things to remember. I didn't understand everything, but I didn't expect to. It was my first day. At lunchtime, one of my coworkers invited me to eat with the team. That small invitation made me feel welcome. By the end of the day, I was tired, but I was also happy. I realized that starting something new is always difficult at first. You don't know everything, you make mistakes, you ask questions, you slowly learn. And after a few weeks, the place that once felt strange can start to feel familiar. So if you're starting something new, don't worry if you feel nervous. That's normal. You don't have to know everything on the first day. Just be curious, ask questions, listen, and give yourself time.
Part 2. A strange thing happened on the bus. One morning, I was taking the bus to the city. It was a normal morning. The bus wasn't too crowded. I found a seat near the window and started looking outside. People were going to work. Students were going to school. Some people were carrying shopping bags. Everything seemed normal. Then, about 10 minutes later, the bus suddenly stopped. The driver opened the doors, but nobody got off. Everyone looked confused. Then the driver stood up and walked toward the back of the bus. A small dog was sitting there. Nobody knew where it came from. The dog looked completely comfortable. It wasn't scared at all. It simply sat on the seat and looked at everyone. People started laughing. The driver tried to find the owner. He asked everyone if the dog belonged to them. Nobody said yes. The dog just looked around as if nothing unusual was happening. Finally, a woman near the front of the bus said she had seen the dog running near the bus stop. She thought it had probably followed someone onto the bus. The driver carefully picked up the dog and carried it outside. A few minutes later, a man came running toward the bus. He was looking for his dog. When he saw it, he looked extremely relieved. Apparently, the dog had escaped from his house earlier that morning. The man thanked everyone. The bus continued its journey. The whole thing took only a few minutes, but everyone on the bus seems happier afterward. People who had never spoken to each other were suddenly smiling and talking. It was funny. A little unexpected event had changed the mood of the entire bus. Sometimes ordinary days become memorable because of small surprises. You never know what might happen when you leave your house in the morning.
Part 3. Why do we need personal space? Have you ever felt uncomfortable because someone was standing too close to you? Most people have. We all have an invisible space around us. We may not see it, but we can feel it. When someone comes too close, we may automatically move away. This is called personal space. Personal space can be different for different people. Some people are comfortable standing close to others. Some people prefer more distance. It can also depend on the situation. When you're talking with a close friend, you may stand quite close, but when you're talking with a stranger, you may want more space. Culture can also affect personal space. In some countries, people naturally stand closer when they talk. In other places, people prefer more distance. Neither way is necessarily right or wrong. It's simply different. Personal space is important because it helps people feel comfortable. Imagine you're waiting in line at a store. There are many people around you. If someone stands extremely close behind you, you might feel uncomfortable. They aren't necessarily doing anything wrong, but you may still want them to move back a little. The same thing can happen on public transportation. When a bus is crowded, we don't always have a choice. Everyone has to stand close together. But when there is plenty of space, most people naturally leave some distance between themselves and others. Respecting personal space is a simple way to respect other people. We should also remember that people have different boundaries. What feels comfortable to you may not feel comfortable to someone else. So paying attention is important. If someone moves away, maybe they need more space. If someone seems uncomfortable, give them some room. Small things like this can make everyday interactions much more comfortable.
Part 4. Cooking my first meal. I wasn't always good at cooking. In fact, the first meal I ever cooked by myself was almost a disaster. I wanted to make dinner for my family. I chose a simple recipe. At least, I thought it was simple. I prepared all the ingredients. I cut the vegetables. I prepared the meat. I turned on the stove. Everything seemed to be going well. Then I realized that I had forgotten an important ingredient. I quickly looked around the kitchen. I couldn't find it, so I decided to continue without it. A few minutes later, I started to smell something strange. I looked at the pan. The food was starting to burn. I turned down the heat. Then I added some water. For a moment, everything seemed okay, but then I realized that I had added too much water. Now the food was too wet. I tried to fix it. I added some more ingredients. I tasted it. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't very good either. When my family finally sat down for dinner, I was nervous. I told them that it was my first time cooking. They smiled. Everyone tried the food. My mother said, "Well, it's not perfect, but it's a good beginning." That made me laugh. We ate the meal together. It wasn't the best dinner we had ever had, but I still remember it. After that day, I started cooking more often. I learned from my mistakes. I learned how much salt to use. I learned how to control the heat. I learned that cooking takes patience. And slowly, I became better. Sometimes the best way to learn something is simply to try. Your first attempt may not be perfect. That's okay. You can learn from it, and the next time, you can do a little better. Part 5. Why do we procrastinate? Have you ever had something important to do, but you didn't do it? Maybe you needed to study. Maybe you had an important email to write. Maybe you needed to clean your room. But instead, you watched videos. You checked your phone. You made something to eat. You suddenly found 10 other things to do. This is called procrastination. We all procrastinate sometimes. But why? One reason is that a task feels difficult. When something looks complicated, our brain may want to avoid it. Another reason is that the task isn't interesting. Cleaning the house isn't always exciting. Studying grammar isn't always fun. Writing a long report can feel boring. So we choose something easier. We choose something that gives us immediate pleasure. We watch a video. We scroll through social media. We play a game. The problem is that the task doesn't disappear. It's still waiting for us. And sometimes avoiding it makes us feel even more stressed. We think about it all day. We know we should do it, but we continue avoiding it. One thing that can help is making the task smaller. Instead of thinking, I have to study for 3 hours, you can think, I'll study for 15 minutes. 15 minutes doesn't sound so difficult. Once you start, you may want to continue. The hardest part is often starting. We don't need to feel motivated before we begin. Sometimes motivation comes after we start. So when you have something important to do, don't think about the whole task. Think about the first small step. Start there.
Part 6. A rainy day at home. There is something special about a rainy day. The sound of rain can make everything feel slower. One weekend, it rained from morning until night. I had planned to go outside. I wanted to visit a friend. But when I woke up, I heard the rain hitting the window. I looked outside. The sky was dark. The streets were wet. People were walking quickly with umbrellas. I decided to stay home. At first, I felt disappointed. I had been looking forward to going out, but then I thought, maybe I need a quiet day. So I made some breakfast. Then I cleaned my room. After that, I made a cup of tea and sat near the window. I watched the rain for a while. I didn't do anything special, and that was exactly what I needed. Later, I read a book. In the afternoon, I watched an old movie. I cooked dinner slowly. There was no reason to hurry. Outside, the rain continued. Inside, everything was quiet. That evening, I realized that I had enjoyed the day. Sometimes we don't need an exciting weekend. Sometimes we need a slow one. We spend so much time moving from one place to another. We work. We study. We answer messages. We make plans. We solve problems. A quiet day can give our minds a chance to rest. So when your plans change because of the weather, don't always think of it as a bad thing. Sometimes a rainy day at home can be exactly what you need. Sometimes motivation comes after we start. So when you have something important to do, don't think about the whole task. Think about the first small step. Start there.
Part 7. Meeting someone from another country. Meeting someone from another country can be an interesting experience. You may speak different languages. You may eat different food. You may have different traditions. But you may also discover that you have many things in common. A few years ago, I met someone from another country at a small cafe. We started talking because we were sitting at the same table. At first, I was a little nervous. I wasn't sure how well we would communicate. But after a few minutes, the conversation became easier. We talked about food. I asked about their favorite dishes. They asked me about mine. Then we talked about movies. We discovered that we liked some of the same films. We also talked about music. Our tastes were different, but we enjoyed talking about them. Then the conversation became more interesting. We talked about daily life. I asked what a normal day looked like in their country. They asked about life in my country. Some things were very different. Other things were surprisingly similar. They told me about their family. I talked about mine. We laughed about some small cultural misunderstandings. By the end of the conversation, I realized something. Sometimes we focus too much on our differences, but people everywhere have similar feelings. We all want to be understood. We all have worries. We all have dreams. We all enjoy spending time with people we care about. Meeting people from different cultures can teach us a lot. It can make the world feel bigger, but it can also make us realize how connected we are.
Part 8. Why is saying no so difficult? Saying no sounds simple. It's only one word. But for many people, saying it can be difficult. Maybe a friend asks you to do something. You don't really want to do it.
but you say yes because you don't want to disappoint them. Maybe someone asks you to work late. You're already tired, but you say yes because you don't want them to think you're lazy. Sometimes we say yes because we want people to like us. We want to be helpful. We don't want to create problems. But always saying yes can become exhausting. If you agree to everything, you may have no time for yourself. You may become stressed. You may even become angry because you're doing things you didn't want to do. Learning to say no doesn't mean you're a bad person. It means you understand your limits. Of course, we should be polite. We don't have to say no in an unfriendly way. We can explain our situation. We can say that we're busy. We can suggest another time. We can simply say that we can't help this time. People who care about us should understand. And sometimes saying no to one thing means saying yes to something more important. Maybe you say no to another plan because you need to rest. Maybe you say no to extra work because you need time with your family. Maybe you say no to something you don't really want so you can focus on your goals. Your time is valuable. It's okay to protect it. Part 9. The most useful thing I ever bought. Sometimes we buy expensive things because they look impressive, but the things we use most aren't always expensive. One of the most useful things I ever bought was a simple notebook. It wasn't special. It wasn't expensive. It was just a small notebook with plain pages. I bought it because I wanted somewhere to write down my ideas. At first, I used it only occasionally. I wrote shopping lists, I wrote down phone numbers, I wrote reminders. Then I started using it more. Whenever I had an idea, I wrote it down. Whenever I learned something interesting, I wrote it down. If I had an important goal, I wrote it in the notebook. It became a place for my thoughts. Sometimes my mind felt crowded. I had too many things to remember. Writing them down made everything feel easier. I also started writing about my day. Not every day, just sometimes. I wrote about things that made me happy. I wrote about difficult moments. I wrote about things I wanted to change. After a while, the notebook became more than a notebook. It became a record of my life. I could look back and see how my thoughts had changed. That's when I realized something. Useful things don't always have to be expensive. Sometimes the simplest things can become the most valuable. Part 10. What makes a good neighbor? A good neighbor can make life much easier. You don't have to become best friends with your neighbors, but being respectful and friendly can make a big difference. A good neighbor doesn't make unnecessary noise late at night. They keep shared spaces clean. They respect other people's privacy. And when they can help, they help. Imagine that you're away from home for a few days. You need someone to collect your mail. A trusted neighbor might be willing to help. Or imagine that an older neighbor has a heavy bag. Maybe you can carry it for them. These small actions can create a friendly community. But being a good neighbor also means understanding boundaries. You don't need to know everything about your neighbors. You don't need to ask personal questions. You don't need to visit them every day. Sometimes being a good neighbor simply means respecting their space. A little kindness and a little respect can go a long way. We all share the places where we live, so creating a peaceful environment benefits everyone. Part 11. Getting lost in a new city. Getting lost can be frustrating, but sometimes it can also be an adventure. I remember walking through a city I had never visited before. I thought I knew where I was going. I checked the map on my phone. I turned left. Then I turned right. After about 20 minutes, I realized something. I had no idea where I was. I looked around. The streets didn't look familiar. I checked my phone again. The map wasn't helping much, so I decided to ask someone for directions. I saw a man standing outside a small shop. I politely asked him if he knew how to get to the city center. He smiled and pointed down the street. Then he explained which road I needed to take. I thanked him and started walking.
But instead of going directly to the city center, I noticed a small street filled with interesting shops. There was a bakery, there was a bookstore, there were small restaurants. The area was beautiful. I stopped at a cafe and had a cup of coffee. I never would have found that place if I hadn't gotten lost. Eventually, I found my way back. I was late, but I didn't mind. The experience taught me something. Not every wrong turn is a disaster. Sometimes getting lost can help you discover something you would never have found otherwise.
Part 12. Why do we need alone time? Some people love being around other people all the time. Others need quiet time alone. I think both are normal. Being alone doesn't necessarily mean being lonely. Sometimes being alone is a way to rest. After a busy day, you may not want to talk to anyone. You may simply want to sit quietly. You may want to listen to music, read a book, take a walk, or just think. Alone time can help us understand how we feel. When we're always surrounded by people, we don't always have time to think about ourselves. We are listening to other people, answering questions, solving problems, having conversations. When we're alone, things become quieter. We can think about what we want. We can think about our goals. We can think about what has been bothering us. Of course, too much isolation isn't good either. Human beings need connection. We need friends. We need family. We need people we can trust. But having some time alone is healthy for many people. It's not about avoiding everyone. It's about giving yourself some space. Sometimes a little quiet can help you return to the world with more energy. Part 13. The importance of saying thank you. Thank you is a very small phrase, but it can have a big effect. Imagine working hard on something. You spend several hours helping someone. When you're finished, they simply walk away. You might feel disappointed. Now imagine the same situation. The person looks at you and says, "Thank you, I really appreciate your help." It feels different. Those two words can make you feel that your effort mattered. Saying thank you is simple, but sometimes we forget. We become busy. We assume people know that we're grateful. But it's still important to say it. Thank your parents. Thank your friends. Thank your coworkers. Thank the person who helps you. Thank someone who listens to you. You can even thank someone for small things. A person holds the door for you. You say thank you. Someone gives you directions. You say thank you. Someone makes you a cup of tea. You say thank you. Gratitude doesn't cost anything, but it can make relationships stronger. And when you start noticing the things people do for you, you may also start noticing how much kindness exists around you. So don't assume people know you're grateful. Tell them. Sometimes 2 simple words are enough. Part 14. When you have too many choices. Having choices sounds like a good thing, and usually it is. But sometimes too many choices can make us tired. Imagine going to a restaurant with a menu that has 200 dishes. You look at the menu, you read one page, then another. Everything looks interesting, but you can't decide. You ask your friend what they want. They don't know either. 10 minutes later, you're still looking at the menu. This can happen in everyday life too. We have thousands of movies to choose from, hundreds of clothes, many different phones, many different jobs, many different places to travel, many different ways to spend our free time. More choices don't always make us happier. Sometimes they make decisions harder. We start wondering if there is a better option. We choose something, but then we think about all the other choices. Maybe another movie would have been better. Maybe another restaurant would have been better. Maybe another phone would have been better. This can make us unhappy with our decisions. Sometimes it's better to have a few good choices instead of hundreds. We don't need the perfect choice. We just need a good one. Life becomes easier when we stop trying to make every decision perfectly. Part 15. A mistake I will never forget. I once made a mistake that I still remember. It happened because I was in a hurry. I had an important appointment. I woke up late. I quickly got dressed. I grabbed my bag and left the house. I didn't check anything carefully. When I arrived at the place, I realized something was wrong. I had gone to the wrong location. The appointment was actually at another building. I looked at my phone. I had only 20 minutes left. I quickly found the correct address and took a taxi. I arrived just in time. I was embarrassed, but fortunately, everything worked out. Afterward, I thought about what had happened. The problem wasn't that I didn't know the address. I simply hadn't taken the time to check it. I was too focused on moving quickly. Since then, I've tried to check important details before leaving home. I check the address. I check the time. I check that I have everything I need. It only takes a minute. That mistake taught me something useful. Being in a hurry doesn't always save time. Sometimes slowing down for a moment can actually prevent bigger problems.
Part 16. Why do we get bored? Boredom is interesting. Sometimes we say we're bored when we actually have many things we could do. We have our phones, we have the internet, we have movies, we have music, we have games, we have books. And yet, sometimes we still feel bored. Why? Maybe we're used to constant entertainment. Whenever we have a free moment, we reach for our phones. We're always looking at something. A video, a message, a photo, a news story. So when nothing is happening, we don't know what to do. But boredom isn't always bad. Sometimes boredom gives our mind space. When we're bored, we may start thinking. We may have new ideas. We may notice things around us. Maybe you remember a hobby you haven't done in years. Maybe you suddenly want to draw. Maybe you decide to clean your room. Maybe you start writing. Maybe you simply take a walk. Some of the best ideas can come when we're not constantly receiving information. So the next time you feel bored, don't immediately reach for your phone. Give yourself a few minutes. Sit quietly. Look outside. Walk around. Let your mind wander. You might be surprised by what happens.
Part 17. A day at the local market. There is something special about a local market. It's usually busy. There are people everywhere. You can hear different voices. You can smell fresh food. You can see colorful fruits and vegetables. One morning, I went to a local market to buy some food. As soon as I entered, I heard people talking and laughing. One seller was calling customers. Another was arranging vegetables. A woman was choosing fruit carefully. An old man was carrying a basket. I walked slowly through the market. I didn't have a long shopping list. I just wanted a few things for dinner. I stopped at a fruit stall. The seller showed me some fresh oranges. I chose a few. Then I walked to another stall to buy vegetables. The seller recognized me. She smiled and asked how I was doing. We talked for a few minutes. This is something I like about local markets. Shopping isn't always just about buying things. Sometimes it's about people. You see the same sellers. You talk to them. You learn which food is fresh. You hear stories. You become familiar with the place. Supermarkets can be convenient, but local markets often have a different feeling. They feel more personal, more lively, more connected to the community. After finishing my shopping, I walked home with my bags. It was a simple morning, but it felt good. Sometimes ordinary places can have a special atmosphere if we take the time to notice them. Part 18. What makes a place feel like home? What makes a place feel like home? Is it the building, the furniture, the neighborhood? I don't think it's only about those things. I think people are a big part of what makes a place feel like home. You can live in a beautiful house and still feel lonely. And you can live in a small apartment and feel completely comfortable. Home can be a place where you feel safe, a place where you can relax, a place where you don't have to pretend to be someone else. Maybe it's the smell of food cooking in the kitchen. Maybe it's the sound of someone you love laughing in another room. Maybe it's your favorite chair. Maybe it's an old photograph on the wall. Maybe it's the small routines you have every day. Sometimes a place doesn't feel like home immediately. You move somewhere new. Everything feels strange. The streets are unfamiliar. The neighbors are strangers. You don't know where to shop. You don't know the best places to eat. But slowly, things change. You learn the area. You meet people. You create memories. You find your favorite cafe. You know which bus to take. You start recognizing familiar faces. And one day, you realize that the place doesn't feel strange anymore. It feels like home. Maybe home isn't just a place. Maybe home is a feeling.
Part 19. One small change that made life easier. Sometimes we think we need to make huge changes to improve our lives. We think we need a completely new routine, a new job, a new house, a new lifestyle. But sometimes one small change can make a big difference. For me, one small change was preparing things the night before. I used to wake up and immediately start looking for everything. Where are my keys? Where is my bag? What am I going to wear? Did I charge my phone? I was always rushing in the morning. Then I started preparing before going to bed. I chose my clothes. I prepared my bag. I checked my schedule. I put my keys in the same place. It only took about 10 minutes, but the next morning felt completely different. I didn't have to make so many decisions. I didn't have to search for things. I could start the day calmly. That small habit also helped me sleep better because I wasn't thinking about everything I needed to do the next morning. It made me realize that sometimes the solution to a big problem is surprisingly small. We don't always need to change our whole life. Maybe we just need to change one small habit, then another. Small improvements can make everyday life easier.
Part 20. Meeting someone who changed my view. Sometimes we meet people who change the way we think. They don't necessarily give us a big speech. Sometimes they simply live differently. I once met someone who had a very simple approach to life. They didn't worry too much about what other people thought. They worked hard. They cared about their family. They enjoyed simple things. And they didn't seem interested in comparing themselves with others. One day, I asked them why they were so calm. They said something that stayed with me. They said that they used to worry about many things. They worried about people's opinions. They worried about making mistakes. They worried about the future. But eventually, they realized that worrying didn't solve anything. So they started focusing on what they could control. If they could change something, they changed it. If they couldn't change it, they tried to accept it. That idea sounded simple, but it made me think. We spend so much time worrying about things we can't control. We think about what other people think. We think about things that happened years ago. We worry about things that may never happen. And sometimes we forget about today. That conversation changed the way I look at many things. I still worry sometimes, of course. I'm human. But now, when I notice myself worrying too much, I ask one question. Can I do anything about this? If the answer is yes, I try to take action. If the answer is no, I try to let it go. It's not always easy, but I think it's a useful way to live.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. 20 new stories, 20 different topics, and hopefully many new English words and ideas along the way. But remember, this wasn't a test. You didn't need to understand every word. You didn't need to translate every sentence. You didn't need to stop whenever something was difficult. The important thing was to keep listening. English becomes more familiar when you hear it again and again. At first, some words may sound strange. Then you hear them again and again.
Eventually, they begin to feel natural. So keep listening. Listen while you're walking. Listen while you're relaxing. Listen while you're doing your daily activities. You don't always need to sit at a desk and study. Sometimes simply listening can be a valuable part of your English journey. And remember our simple rule: don't translate, just listen. Thank you for spending your time with Speak English Anywhere. Take care. Keep learning, keep listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Don't translate, just listen.